For those who are joining us today for the first time, super welcome. This is Content Designer China. We do this every month. Yes, every single month for over 2 years now. We invite speakers to talk about content design, to talk about the project that they worked on, to talk about new things they learned and can teach you, my dear audience, you. Okay. My name is Anna. Today and always with me, my partner in crime for all things community and content design, Arnaud Frattini. Say hi. Yay.
Hello.
Okay. And today with us, we have a very special speaker, a long-time friend of this community and very experienced specialist in localization, content design, and now AI, prompt engineering, and many other things. Vladimir Zhdanov, say
Hey
hi.
guys. Hey guys.
Hey. Yay. So we are starting in minutes, in seconds, with Vlad's presentation. After that, there are going to be Q&A. So feel free to send your questions in the chat. Arnaud will be collecting them, and after the presentation is over, we will ask all your questions. You can jump in later if you feel like it, if you feel like your question requires clarifications and whatnot. And that will be Q&A. After Q&A, we are going to do breakout rooms. So what does it mean? Arnaud will distribute us in virtual rooms for about 20 minutes so that we can chat, discuss the presentation, maybe get to know new people, maybe reconnect with familiar faces, and hopefully, have a very lovely evening. So, without further ado, I'm giving it up to our featured speaker today, Vladimir Zhdanov.
Let me do a quick introduction. My name is Vladimir Zhdanov. I'm from Russia, and today I want to talk about the topic you've all seen on LinkedIn posts and everywhere: writers and AI from gatekeepers to content architects. Sounds very fancy. Again, I'm not sure about the technical background of everybody's here, and I understand that I'm living in this digital bubble that Alibaba is. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat so I can answer and maybe do some clarifications. I graduated as a translator, so I'm in this language-related industry since 2010. I started as a freelance game localization expert, if I can call it that. Then I worked in video games and e-commerce content, and today I am in AliExpress content team, and my main job is about building workflows and optimizing content creation processes and whatnot in different languages. So what I want to share today is about how the content is created with AI, because I know that some people have this question. A lot of people actually have this question about how the content is created with AI and how to actually make it work. I guess in 2026, every single one of you has played around with ChatGPT or Qwen or other AI and been using this on a daily basis. But using it like that is one thing, and applying it in actual production is quite a different thing. So this is what I want to talk about. Practical business use, steady production workflow, which means not a one-time task, but a way to create content, maybe not 24/7, but regularly and for a very specific scope. Some disclaimers. I won't be talking about AI that creates art. I'm not talking about writing here as an art in terms of writing a book or do something like that. We are talking about the practical business application, because business doesn't always need an art. A business needs some content, be it graphical content or video content, photography and whatnot, text included. So we're talking about the AI that produces a text for business applications. I'm also not going to talk about giant systems, because if you think about AI or machine translation, some people might think, I don't know, product titles on AliExpress also written with some form of AI, right? But different applications require different skills. Stuff like product titles require huge scale engineering teams to make sure that AI produces the content at a certain speed, certain millions of words per minute. So we're not talking about that. I'm not a system engineer. I came from the localization and language. I learned some of the stuff myself, but I never got a computer science degree. So I will try to make it as down to earth as possible. But then again, this is something important for people who write content, be it translators or UX writers. I don't want to see the AI as something that will replace writers or translators, for that matter. I know that a lot of companies are looking forward into this, especially management or people with strong technical background but lack understanding of content. Let's improve efficiency. Let's fire everyone and hire AI to write content for us, cut down the costs and improve efficiency for the business and whatnot. This is not what I want to do because, again, I come from the same industry. I don't want to be replaced by AI. However, I see that there is a way to reimagine, sorry for this buzzword, reimagine the meaning of content writer or a translator or whoever. Some more disclaimers. When I use the word AI, most of the time I would mean large language model, which is ChatGPT and all the similar stuff that's stay with us since 2023, I believe. So this is AI. I believe that's enough intelligence to be called AI. So let's just stick to this. I will also not be showing to you any company-specific product, how exactly we do it in AliExpress, because NDA and other restrictions. And again, it's not about a very specific tool or a platform that we use. It's about the principle. Hence, no silver bullet. Every company is different. Implementation in every team will require different skills or maybe had some constraints. Some services aren't available in certain countries and regions, etc. But I believe that understanding the system, if you understand how it works, that will help you to apply whichever useful parts of it can be applied to your team. I believe it's the same as with translation software, for example, when they are all different, but if you learn how it works, they're all the same. Sorry for my localization talk here. Today plan is like this. It's 5 uneven parts. First, what AI is actually taken from writers, because it's not as easy as it may sound. The second is why it actually creates wins and risks at the same time. The third part is how writers may reimagine themselves. The biggest part would be the fourth, about workflow, what it looks like in practice. And the conclusion is what I'm personally thinking where this is all going. Again, my personal opinion, feel free to challenge it. The part about the workflow, I'm not sure about the audience background about technical stuff. So for some of you, this might look extremely simple. For others, this might look too complicated. Sorry about this. There's no way to tell it for every level evenly. So again, feel free to drop your questions in comments. So what AI is taken from writers? I think this needs some clarifications. AI can take on repetitive tasks. And it's not only about AI, it's about computers in general. AI would take computers can take repetitive work the same way as mechanisms took some repetitive work on factories. For quite some time in humans' history, we only had manual labor, and you had to study, be apprentice somewhere to study this craft or art. Then machine came along and started to produce some stuff in a more automated way. But the things that happen in our brain, this abstract thinking, was considered something you cannot automate. From today's perspective, it's quite a bit different, actually. If you look at 150 years ago, mathematics, um, division, subtraction was considered to be a very human task. Only humans are capable of it, because math is extremely abstract. Math doesn't exist in the wild. We all just made it up, and it exists and it works. Hence, only humans can do it. So, some time ago, a notion that mechanism can do calculations was nonsense. Today, of course, nobody is surprised by the fact that calculators can calculate and computers can do a lot more complicated stuff. So this notion of something only human can do moved up a little bit. And before LLM, we would say that, oh, shortening a text or summarize a document is something a human only can do, because that's not a task that could be automated. But turns out computers can do it to a certain extent. I believe we keep moving these levels of abstraction, like what humans can do that machines cannot. I'm not sure where it would end, if ever. But today we really on this level that AI can actually read the document and draw some conclusions out of it. Maybe not perfect, maybe not extremely accurate, maybe different from what we would do, but still. So, not so long ago, tasks like rewriting a content for a website, you would hire a writer, even if that content is not very creative. Like, you need to rewrite it something, write the same article, but change it slightly for 5 different blogs. That job actually exists, and people got paid for it. Today, yes, to a certain extent, AI can do this. So, some tasks, some jobs would be taken away from humans. For writer, it means if a job could be formalized with a clear rules, pretty sure AI can do some of it, or maybe everything. Again, I'm not talking about how it looks from business. I studied translation. My first work was a freelance translator, and I did this writing for quite some years. It's 15, 16 years today, so quite a long time. And I understand that when people say, "Oh, we can automate this task with AI," means that something like me, at a certain point of my career, might lose a job, which is not what I want to do. I think we need to let business know that this is not a very sustainable way to do things. Not because we writers want to keep our job, but because business would also suffer. And again, if I think about it, I look back at my first job as a freelance translator. I wasn't even graduated from the university back then. I had 3-4 years of Chinese language study. Definitely my translations wasn't great. I look back at those translations and, oh my God, they are horrible. How could I do this? Why would anybody pay me for this? But then again, back then, computers couldn't do even that. Google Translate was a lot worse. So, despite my mistakes, despite my typos and whatnot, I still got paid. Thanks for that. That's how I got into the career. Today, I wouldn't be hired probably for that position with that amount of skills. Which probably is a good thing for a business short term, but let me talk about why it's not so great, why it actually can create a risk. So the short-term win is obvious. You don't hire a person, you use AI to translate. Win-win. You get your translations, it's cheap, and you don't have to spend money for it. That's great. The problem is, if you keep removing people from the process, it weakens this succession line, may I call it, later on. What I'm saying is, if today, with that experience that I had 16 years ago, I wanted to go in the translation industry, all the junior jobs are taken by AI and machine translation. How the hell can I get the experience? How can I learn to be a good translator until I got paid enough? I will not, honestly, I will not answer this question today. I have no idea how the industry can overcome this issue of alienating the industry from people to go into. So at some point, we would start to see less and less experts, right? So I think the idea of let's replace the junior job with AI and let writers review everything. I think this is a bad way of putting things. I know probably I know for a fact there are people here who probably worked as translators at some point and maybe received the tasks like please review this content for produced with AI for peanuts, basically. This won't keep people in the industry, right? So over time, the industry would experience the shortage of people. But why it is a problem? Why am I talking about this? Not everything can be done by AI. I believe that you can set some workflow, for example, once, but you need a way to maintain it. You need a way to answer new challenges that business has for different types of content. And if you exclude people from that pipeline completely, there is nobody here that can step in and help you as a business solve your content issues. So I think writers, my personal opinion, writers might need to rethink what's the job here, what are they doing in this industry. If you keep measure your words by, if you keep measure your work by the output word count, how many words you can write per day, per hour, AI can outperform you, of course. So I believe it's not a good strategy to try and compete with AI in this area, in the area of volumes. However, writers have some experience that AI doesn't have, some not just experience, but have some I would call it privileges that AI doesn't have. Again, AI is numbers in the computer. It lives in on your hard drive, in your memory. It's text. It only deals in text. It doesn't actually step out of this virtual world into the real world. So it cannot gain experience about how a company, for example, works internally, unless every single word is documented somewhere in a very nice way, which I don't think people do that often. So we as humans understand, we can have some understanding about the audience, about how people would actually perceive it. The content that you write, for example, could better understand the cultural context, some constraints, and most importantly, what's good enough. I think it's very good for us to, very good thing that writers can tell. Is this content actually good to be published or released or show or being shown to the audience? That's not something AI would do. So what I'm thinking is, with this knowledge, writers can actually become people who produce, who become architects of the workflows that produces content. By workflow, I mean which step you need to do to write content for a certain scenario. I don't think there would ever be an AI that can solve any content question, not because it's not solvable by AI. If it wasn't so, if it was solvable, I wouldn't probably be having this conversation even. But imagine your client, for example. It's not always the case that client can express what they need. Maybe they have a hard time explaining it verbally, or they don't know themselves what they need. So what we do in this situation, we use our experience, we use our best knowledge, maybe some external data, maybe some guidelines that we wrote ourselves or read somewhere, and then we create content for them. So since AI doesn't live with us all day long in the office, it doesn't know all the details, but content writers, I believe, can design a workflow for this specific type of content and be the gatekeepers to maintain the quality of this workflow for a certain scenario. And also, I believe that you cannot just create this workflow once and then you're fired because all the work is done, right? I don't think it's ever done. I think it's the opposite. When you create a workflow, you kind of release your hands to do something else. So now you have more time to solve other business issues or maybe improve the content on a different level. For example, you solve the problem of content fits a certain standards. Now you can think of what are the different style that this content may benefit from, or maybe research what kind of push messages perform better, because some push messages for your app are already being written by AI. You don't have to write them it yourself. Now you can think on a more abstract level. So what does it mean? I will have a sip of coffee, sorry. I think for people in content, in translation, it's good to take a step back and to try and really deconstruct what are you doing when you're writing content. I will talk with examples from translation industry, but I think it's you would get my point. If you just think about it, like, what does it take to translate one sentence into another language? The first idea was you just read it, and then, well, depends on your experience. You might say check the dictionary and make sure all the words are right, or you might say let's read the text. What does it mean? And write it in a different language. Okay, yeah, that works. But what else? There's clearly a lot more than this. If it's a sentence, right, you would probably also have this idea in your mind, thinking, but what's the context? What is this sentence for? If it says cancel, what kind of cancel it is? It's a button, or it's some warning, or something. So you would think of a product that this would be used in. Then you would think of okay, we usually, for our app, we usually say it this way. So you see, you kind of picking into different databases in your mind. You're checking the style guide from your experience. You're checking your terminology that you just know by heart, but actually it's in your brain. You would also think of, does it fit with the product that I'm building? Maybe it's a game, and would it be okay to say it from the lore perspective of this game? So you see, it's actually, you can deconstruct this task and create, break it into steps that you need to perform in order to deliver this content. And of course, there will be some QA. Check for capitalization, check for Oxford comma, check for the string length, even for this kind of content. This is, I think, the kind of knowledge that we can use and create a workflow out of it. Because engineers who build ChatGPT or other systems, they might not have a good judgment to tell if it's good or bad. They don't do this. You probably know it from experience with ChatGPT that at the first glance it might be really good writing, but if you start looking deep into it, there's a lot of things you need to actually change. Same thing for code that AI writes. It might look okay and it might even work, but if you have some experience in coding, you look at it and you think, oh, there's lots of stuff needs to be improved or maybe changed completely. So I think writers of content of different types have this thing. What's cool today is that content writers doesn't have to be engineers and doesn't need a huge understanding of programming to build those kind of workflows or pipelines on their own. So we can build this stuff ourselves, test it out and see if it works or not, and maybe even apply it for some specific business cases. Now we're getting to the part 4. This would be a long one, so I believe put more questions in comments anyway if you think something is not clear enough. I will cover some basic stuff here today. First of all, this is a line I wanted to put here. One prompt is not a production system. You might have seen this collections of good prompts online. Maybe on LinkedIn or on Facebook, like here's a cool prompt to do, I don't know, creative writing or translation or generating a picture. I don't think it does have some value. And I know many of you might have a collection of prompts you're using on a daily basis. I know that's a practice that some people do have. To have a Word document, for example, somewhere in your notebook, it would be a prompt. That's absolutely fine. The problem is it's more of a one-time task. It's hard to automate because when it's one prompt, you would copy-paste it, adding some specific instructions that you need this time. Then you can chat with the chatbot to improve it. In a real production system, you wouldn't always have ability to chat for a while with AI to improve the output. Also, the end user of this content might not be a good judge to know, okay, I need to regenerate this stuff. I need to change it. That's especially true for situations like in our office, when the users of this content, I mean, people who would put it somewhere, like designers or operation managers, they might not speak 18 languages at the same time. We have many languages. I see Arabic on the screen. I wouldn't say if it's a good or bad output. I don't know a single character in Arabic. So this prompt kind of interaction doesn't help. It's hard to scale and it's hard to control because you don't know what's happening here. You only see the output. Chains of those things, however, are better because you can isolate every step. You can control what's happening. You can debug easily, tweaking only one part of this prompt without affecting the others. Again, less hallucinations, easier to check the quality in between. A very basic workflow might look something like this. You have a user input. You have on one side, you have the output on the other side, and some magic happens in between. Could be something like this. We need to understand the request. Then we need to draft the baseline text if we're writing something. We validate the rules. We rewrite if needed. We localize in different languages. Then we do QA, and then we return it to the user. So several steps that might be condensed in one prompt theoretically, but this way you would have a lot of hallucinations and cross-pollination, I would say. So in my opinion, chains are a lot better. Also, one thing I want to highlight is use code where code is better and use AI for when it's not. What I mean is, technically AI can do almost whatever you ask with content, but some things are a lot more efficient than others, like counting characters. Probably many of you saw that how many are in strawberry, and ChatGPT failed to count the R's. That's because that's how AI works. It doesn't see the individual characters, it sees tokens. But I'm not going deep into this. There are plenty of stuff that code is better and 1,000 times more efficient than AI, also cheaper in terms of tokens, because no tokens are required for code. But AI can do what code cannot: rewrite, shorten, adapt tone, etc. Also, some things are better to check with code like that. For example, if you have a very strict limits on character count, this is where the code would help you a lot, and LLM wouldn't probably. Or checking the list of prohibited words. Code is a lot better than this. So whatever system you're building, strongly consider add this hard checks with code. Thank God, code is easy to write today because we have ChatGPT to write it for us. Another important thing is for people who work with in the multi-language environment, it's very important to separate tasks by language. If you have one input, like one task, and you require several translations of it in different languages, it's very important to keep those translation pipelines separate from each other. This is because AI might confuse or hallucinate between the rules of different languages, and the output could be, well, of mixed quality, let's put it this way. Same as market-specific instructions. From my experience, what we learned the hard way, if you just put everything in one prompt, like for North America you write like this, for Japan you write like that, for France you write it like that, it will just mix the rules and the output would be pretty bad. What is a workflow? Okay, we have input and output. This is the workflow. You have input, you have nothing in between. On the output, you would see the same, unsurprisingly. So let's think of a more complicated workflow. Imagine you need everything in uppercase, and this is where a piece of code would help a lot more efficient than a ChatGPT would. You can, of course, ask ChatGPT to make it uppercase, but it's slow and inefficient and costly. And also, it might hallucinate severely. So this is the case where you would use AI for. However, there might be a case like this. Some client request came to you, I need a promo push for this new stuff, make it catchy. It's about new iPhone, even misspelled the iPhone because I shouldn't be capitalized. You need some way to turn it into the push message that the person is asking about. Imagine you're, I don't know, promo agency. You put it into ChatGPT, and you would get a lot of this. It's fairly okay for a one-time task because you can take a closer look at this. You can copy paste the right things. You can maybe change English. I see that Russian is even mixed with English for some reason, but I mean, you can control it. However, if you build a pipeline like this for your designer, for example, or for the client, even worse, how can they even use this? It's useless. It's hard to control. People wouldn't know what to copy paste in the end. So we need to do something about this. Let's make a proper workflow. In this pure theoretical example, what I would do first is assign one LLM, one AI, whose job would be to, let's try and understand what the user wants. Prompt here says read the user input and extract the key information. Of course, the actual prompt would be a lot more complicated because you would tailor it for your own scenario. Like we're an agency that works with these kind of clients for these kind of products, and this is the information we need. So at this stage, you extract useful information from this prompt. Then you would call another three of the three instances of this AI, assigning each one of them with a specific task. Write a push message, because we learned that information from the input, to write it for a certain language, for certain audience, for certain product. Those are three separate AIs, let's put it this way. They didn't see the original user prompt. So each of these AI never saw that user needs it for English, Japanese, and Russian at the same time. Each one of them only see a very specific scope that was tailored on the previous step. So we run those models. None of them know about English, doesn't know about Japanese, so a little chance it would start hallucinating stuff about Japan. Then those models can consult the attached knowledge base. If you a content writer for this agency, you can create a style guide database. You would put the rules that you usually apply for the content you're writing. Maybe Burger King or Wendy's can put very instructions about be funny when you write Twitter comments. Other companies can do differently, but again, you put a style guide different for each language if you have the ability. Then you can attach a different knowledge base with good examples of push messages, maybe for this specific audience or for this specific product, because maybe you probably wrote something like that before. So each AI will consult each of their style guides, each of their database of good examples, and will try to write content based on that. Maybe then we have a very strict limitation of how long a title should be. As I mentioned before, AI aren't that great in following these strict guidelines, like counting characters is a hard task for them apparently. But you can assign a very short script like this pseudocode in Python that I have that can take this part that AI wrote, spending several seconds, and check it in milliseconds to determine if it's okay to go to the next stage or not. In systems where you build AI workflows, you can create conditions. For example, if it doesn't meet this requirement, we can try to send it to AI again with a different instruction that would just say, take this content and try to make it shorter. Provide 5 different variations of it, and we let the code pick the variant that fits the requirements. And then in the end, we can use some code to format the output and make a real nice output that you can use wherever you need to use it. Be it to show it directly to a client, or send it to a design tool or elsewhere. So these blocks here are what a workflow might look like. Here is the very easy, we'll say, presentation of this of a workflow that runs one step at a time and then produces the results. On the left, I put two names of brands. You see, one is Diffie and another is Alibaba Cloud. Oh, on the right here, you can see it. We have some output here already. So Diffie is a platform where you can do this visual programming, basically. It doesn't always have to use AI, but it has this nice ability to call different types of AI, ChatGPT, QVen, and other AIs to serve your purposes. It can also include some pieces of code, which is very convenient to solve issues that I mentioned before that code is better for. And one example of AI provider is Alibaba Cloud, but you can always use ChatGPT and other providers that have API access, basically. Some of them are free, some of them are usually it's a paid service, but many of them would have a certain free limit of tokens. Like Alibaba in this example, they provide some amount of tokens for users. You can try it out. As you can see here, this is the input and the output. You put the elements in between, they process one after another, and you can see the output. What's good about the workflow in with Chain is you can check what happened at each step of this workflow. So you can check what AI received, what was this stage output, so you know what happened to the next stage. So you can tweak stages separately, hence improving the content without breaking the whole workflow, which is very useful for actual productions. In all that, why linguists matter? It's not only that linguists should be at the end of this chain, checking every single output of AI and making sure it's right and maybe correct issues and send it to production, but they are the people who are best suitable to build these workflows to begin with, because they know how the content is written. They can put their knowledge in the form of a workflow, in the form of a steps that needs to be taken. So linguists are still required. Also, once the workflow is built, linguists are required to. Linguists can collect the feedback and apply some fixes or improve AI over time, and also create new workflows to solve different business issues, or maybe to make one general flow more detailed. Imagine you create a workflow, feed it with all your style guide for your company, and it writes any types of content you want with more or less good quality. Then you can start to make it more detailed. You can start make a specific piece of a workflow that writes splash screens text specifically, or the one that translates stuff in Korean language. So there are plenty of places that writers can keep improving stuff, and it's good to actually keep the linguists in this department, not fire everybody because they build the AI like some company do. One of the gaming company did that. People were building AI, and then people who built AI was fired because AI here can replace them. No, it's not how it works. People need to maintain it. People need to fix it. There are factories around the world with robotic arms, but that doesn't mean there's not a single worker here. However, for us linguists, what's cool is if you think of a factory where a robotic arm replaced a person on a conveyor belt, this person from a conveyor belt loses the job. The engineer who built the robotic arm doesn't lose the job, and the engineer who maintained this arm also doesn't lose the job. Us writers, with these tools, with fairly simple AI, fairly simple instruments to build a workflow, we can actually build those robotic arms ourselves, keeping our job and make it more efficient, or maybe make it produce more content that we wanted to produce. So, as a conclusion, there is no single tool to solve every single issue, because again, people cannot always explain what they need. So experts still required. But today, experts can build the tools to improve their own efficiency, thus scaling the business, scale their team production output, scaling the team quality, etc. I think this could be a good direction for content writers, translators, and people like that, because we need to accept the truth that AI can take some jobs, can take some tasks, and it already took some tasks. And pretending that it's not happening, doesn't help us and doesn't help business, doesn't help anybody actually. So as people who write content, let's learn and try to use it to stay relevant and to earn our place here in this industry. Yeah, and stay writers, but with these powerful tools that we have. If I may, to give anybody suggestions or tips, what I would try to do is use whatever tool that is available. Likely, you already tried some tools. You might try the tools they showed today. Diffie works better if you're on a regular computer and with a good VPN. You can try QVent because AliCloud provides some free tokens, and if you pay for your ChatGPT, that usually would come with API limits, so you can use those. And try to start with just fixing one annoying task that you have. I don't know. Maybe you have people coming to you saying, "Hey, can you make it shorter?" That one thing that you might try and make work with the workflow AI style. Put some instructions that you would usually apply when you shorten the text. Maybe that can work. And anyway, try to deconstruct it. Try to think what it takes to complete this task. Iterate until it's good enough. And please keep an eye on costs. Don't set your workflows with unlimited token usage because some LLM providers allow it, and you might spend a lot of money on this. So just make sure you read the rules and your subscription plan carefully before doing anything. Also, a note about coding. I mentioned some Python before. I don't think that writers need to become engineers and DevOps or stuff like that. At the same time, it's extremely important to understand a basic of programming and computers in general. What's a variable? What's a loop? What's a function? It's essential not because you will be building those, but because if you understand what they are, you might see which task could be done a lot more efficient. For example, a loop. If you know what a loop is, you will see, oh, hey, I don't need to write the same stuff 10 times. I can actually make it into a loop and let it check something 10 times. So I would suggest to take, just listen to a course. There is a good course on Coursera, Python for everybody. It covers basic computer science. You don't have to code anything yourself, but just listen to this course will help you to understand this basic stuff. It helps a lot when you write these small pieces of code. From my experience, I don't write any code myself, but when I ask ChatGPT to generate me some code, at least I know how to express myself. Like I will have put a loop here to do this kind of stuff, or use this as a variable. Yeah, and it's good to play around with AI and see how it behaves in practice. This way you will know where AI will do you good and when it won't. I think this is about it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it was useful, at least for some of you. Feel free to ask questions. Again, I'm not a computer science expert, so some stuff might be super basic or some stuff I don't know that much. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you so much for sharing, Vlad. I see we have a lot of questions going on.
Yes, that's right. Okay, let's dive deep into it, okay? We've got a first question from Phyllis. Can AI help detect issues in the source text for translation if the chunks are fed into the engine in separate chunks? There are sometimes inconsistencies in the source material, and machines don't really detect consistency if not directed to do so. What's your thought on that, Vlad?
Hang on a And I'll turn off VPN because the sound is a bit wobbly.
Okay.
Yeah, can I help detect issues in source text?
That's right.
Okay. Fed into engine in separate chunks. That really depends. That really depends on what's your actual setup. I understand that every LLM would have its limits, like how much you can feed it with. I think it's a lot of again, this could be potentially solved with a workflow. For example, if I don't know exactly what inconsistency you're talking about, but let's imagine it's about the spelling of a name. For example, it's a video game source text file and lots of lore here, and you have some characters and some names of characters kept being spelled differently. Seen that myself several times during my career. If this is a recurrent question, I would probably set it like this. We can set a workflow that go over chunks of the source text, extracting terminology or names. A prompt of one of the steps might be like, check for names in this piece in this text, and return me a list of names, maybe with a brief description of each character. And you would set the system to save this list after each iteration. So at some point, you would see that you would have a similarly written spelled name with a very similar explanation to the character. And this might be a second step for AI. Look at the list of characters and let me know if there are characters that might be the same person after all. Stuff like that. Of course, unless you know what's happening with your file, unless you kind of know what kind of issues to expect, you cannot set this flow. But if you know what to expect, then you can try and set this flow to try and detect the issues you might think might happen here. There are a lot of ways to do this. I think this might be the one. I don't know if I answered this question clearly. So yeah, feel free to add something.
Okay. So moving on to the next question from Qiaoying. So she starts as for the short win. Oh, hold on. Yeah, as for the short win. So by that, I believe she means, the win on the short term that you can get by, replacing AI or LLMs, replacing your writers by LLMs. Has anyone experienced a situation where the workload of collecting data to check, justify AI's effectiveness has already far exceeded the workload of AI improving the actual delivery? How to avoid it?
So if I understand correctly, that people spend more time on preparing for this jump with AI, and again, I think this is about the part where you don't really have a repetitive task to automate. Like if each and single request that comes to you is quite unique, then yes, probably applying AI here doesn't make much sense. Or if you have a request for, I don't know, translation to a certain language, but it only happens once a month, again, maybe not worth it to try and automate it with AI. Just find yourself a vendor and pay some money for these translations. But if the task is recurrent, is frequently recurring task, then it might be worth to consider to do some automations. But yes, I think I've experienced it myself when trying to apply an AI took more time than actually applying an AI. And it's not about AI, frankly. It's about automation in general. You can ask any engineer and programmer. Yeah, that happens. You try to automate a task that would take you 10 minutes to complete yourself, and you spend 10 hours on automation. I think You can only understand it by practice sometimes, unless you have years of experience, which I don't have. Sorry.
What you're saying is that this kind of situation can happen, but not necessarily only with AI, right? I mean, any kind of automation can experience
Yes.
that kind of situation.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
You got it. Okay, next question from Mike is, do you use AI for QA when working on writing workflows, the same way programmers use it for code reviews?
I think it's one of the possible applications. Again, it heavily depends on how your workflow is set. For instance, if you have a classic setup of translator, editor, and reviewer for a translation pipeline, yeah, perhaps you might replace one of the roles, like reviewer, if you know what's to look for. You have a very established team of translators and reviewers, but you notice that some style inconsistency might slip through. Oxford comma, I don't know, stuff like that. It's fairly easy to set AI to check for that kind of issues, hence replacing a role of a reviewer maybe. So this would be a QA. Again, it depends on the response response speed that you would expect. Like if you want to do the QA in a real time as you type, for example, this might be challenging to set with a workflow like I just showed, because it takes quite a few seconds to accomplish. Not as good, not as user friendly from a UI perspective. But generally, yes, I think as long as you can isolate, this QA could absolutely be applied to do QA.
Okay. Question from Jody. Do you find that giving the LLM a human persona in a prompt helps get more effective output?
It's debatable. I saw some scientific papers that claims it doesn't make sense. So recently I read a paper that scientists did a comparison how different are results if you persuade the AI that you're a scientist or you're a good writer. Maybe on a one time task you might see the difference, but when they measure it on scale, like 100 similar tasks, it doesn't make any significant difference. So might not worth it after all. Besides, I read that this actually increased the level of hallucination because it adds unnecessary levels to this prompt. So I would say use it carefully. But then again, AI changes so fast. It might be relevant today, might be not relevant tomorrow. Also, different models behave differently. So up to you.
To continue on the topic on how LLM, talk back to us as users, questions from Ethan. Have you ever encountered an AI that tries to flatter you? How do you get it to stop the flattery and stay as objective as possible? And he's asking also, in your opinion, Vlad, which model works better as a writer assistant, Q1 or ChatGPT? I think you have a particular, ability to answer that question.
Yes, internal jokes. Yes, you're absolutely right. That QN would tell me every single time. Seriously speaking, it is a problem actually. At the same time, when you set it as a workflow, you rarely actually do the conversational type. You have a very specific thing for AI to do. You expect a very specific thing in return. Often the trick would be, like usually when you chat with ChatGPT, it would say, "Yes, I understand. Here's what you need." Right? When you do it in the workflow way, it is very good. It is very good idea to set the output form as a JSON object, which is basically a structured output. My personal trick is to, even if I just need one line of text, I would ask it to return me 2 lines of text in this JSON object. One would say content that I need, like text and would be some content. And the second one would be comment, where I would instruct LLM to whatever you want to add, any comments, thoughts, questions you put in the comment line. The trick is in the workflow, you can just ignore the comment part, only take the text and go along with it, completely ignoring whatever AI wanted to put there. Hence, free yourself from unnecessary information. This is one trick. It works sometimes. But yes, flattery is an issue. And I read scientific papers how engineers at OpenAI and other companies try to overcome this. So I say that it's something. It's the question that people are working on that side, on the LLM side. Actually, I believe we will see improvements on that. I think ChatGPT in the past few months became a lot less flattery. Even disagree with me sometimes. Can you imagine? I believe others would keep up with them at some point. Yep.
Yeah. All right, and last questions again from Jody. Okay, so prompt engineering and conversation design, especially for like chatbot flows, are becoming or have become very real separate job titles in some companies, and seem a logical thing to do for someone like a UX writer to move into. Is this role you would expect to see appearing more and more?
Yes, I think from the sound of it, it sounds a lot like what I was talking today. I think, okay, prompt engineering, I don't really like this word because it sounds like, how would I put it? Like magic. You try to write spells and hope it would work. But when it's just one prompt and one output, that's a magic, right? That's you try to cast a spell. That's why I think building a chains, like designing the workflow, is a more sustainable because there's a lot more control over each step and a lot more consistency on the output. So let's not limit ourselves to prompt engineering, but more about how to build the actual chain of thoughts and chain of operations.
All right. Thank you very much, Vlad. We don't have any other questions, and I think you already answered quite a lot.